Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Hands Off My Hobo Rocket. To me, your boy, Sasank. And today we're talking some basketball. And we're talking about a team that has an interesting problem with their star player being out. And then one of their key free agent signings also being out. And then probably, I think, their longest tenured player being out. But yet they're still winning and still being a top team in the league. Yep, that's right. We're talking about the Spurs today because Kawhi Leonard's out, Rudy Gay's hurt, and Manu Ginobili isn't playing tonight because he's hurt. So, for those of you that don't know the history of the Spurs, allow me to give you a brief rundown of, a few of their greatest players and greatest moments, in my opinion. So one, you can't leave off, first ballot Hall of Famer, maybe best big man of all time, definitely in discussion for top 5 there, Tim Duncan. He was tenured the whole time for the Spurs. He was drafted first overall. He's the big fundamental. He played so well, little emotion, but yet he was emotional when it came time to be emotional, and he was always on his game. Just you couldn't stop him. So Timmy was great. He played, I think, 18 seasons, all with the Spurs. Technically, he was drafted as a power forward, and he played power forward for his first 9 seasons, or 8 or 9 seasons. Then he switched him to center in his latter years, just to kind of take some strain off him due to the fact that he had some injuries and he had a knee problem. So the Spurs wanted to improve the longevity of their captain, and he was the team's heart and soul. So his career stats: he played 1,392 games, averaged 19 points a game, total rebounds just a bit above 10.8, 3 assists per game. He shot 50% from the field, 17% from 3, 69% from the line. Nice. And his effective field goal rate, 50.7. Win shares turned 6.4, and his efficiency rating was 24.2. So he was an amazing player. He was an All-Star MVP in the 1999-2000 season. He was 3-time Final MVP, 2-time League MVP. He's a 5-time champion, 15-time All-NBA, 15-time All-Defense, 15-time All-Star. He was the Rookie of the Year in 97-98, and he was 97-98 All-Rookie Team. So he was absolutely amazing. Then you get, you get the Admiral, David Robinson. And this guy was as jacked as you can get. And he's the last player to ever have a quadruple-double. He's a Hall of Famer, 10-time All-Star, 2-time champ, 93-94 NBA scoring champion, 10-time All-NBA, 94-95 MVP, 8-time All-Defense. He was the Defensive Player of the Year, 91-92, and Rookie of the Year, 89-90. So he he shot lefty, and he was a center. He played for 13 or 14 seasons. He entered the league kind of young. He was the first overall pick in '87, but he was 24. So this was before the 2 years and done or one and done in the NCAA. He actually went through college fully. So stat-wise, he has 178.7 win shares, played 987 games, 21.1 points, 10.6 rebounds, 2.5 assists. He shot well, 51, 25, 73. It's his shooting line. His efficiency rating, 26.2. David Robinson was a beast. Just absolute monster. And, he just was... he dominated whenever he played. He was that good. He's comparable to Artis Gilmore, Bill Russell, Kareem, Moses Malone, Hakeem. He's similar to them. And over his career, he's extremely similar to the way he played to Bill Russell. He went to the Navy. Also, he served in the military. So props to him. He's a great American and great basketball player. And then Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, the hidden gems in the draft stashed away, and the foreign players. But then we get some players some people don't know, like George Gervin, James Silas, now Sean Elliott. Most people don't know he was a Spur. Avery Johnson, Artis Gilmore, also a Spur at some point in time. Larry Kennan and Bruce Bowen, the Dagger 3 boy, and Kawhi Leonard, modern day legend. Even though he's still, I think in his 7th or 8th season, I want to say. He's in his 7th season right now. He's still a legend. And he wasn't even drafted by the Spurs, believe it or not. He was, the 15th overall pick by the Pacers in the 2011 NBA draft, and he was traded for. He was, the Spurs decided to trade for him. So the Pacers traded, listen to this, Davis Bertans, Erzum Lorbeck to the Spurs with Kawhi for George Hill. And, legend goes, Popovich was against the trade because George Hill was one of the few players he loved. But, Spurs made the good move. They got the Claw, and they got Bertans, two great players that are, playing well for them right now. So, those are just some, famous players for them. Historically, they haven't missed the playoffs since 1988, 1989. And the funny thing is, the year before that, 87, 88, they made the playoffs. So they're the NBA's model of consistency. Over 20 years, they've made the playoffs. They've won the finals, an unprecedented. Oh, actually, not really unprecedented. They had an empire, a dynasty in the early 2000s. They've won 5 championships. In 2013, 2014, 06, 07, 04, 05, 02, 03, and then 99, 2000. That's when they won their championships. Funny thing is, in only one of those years did they have a win percent below 70%. Yep, in 1999, 2000, they only won 53 games. All the other years, they won at least 58. Yeah, but the current big stories for the Spurs right now, the newest one, obviously, is DeJounte Murray. They're young, extremely young, great future ahead of them. They're a young point guard. He's 21 years old. Pop apparently loves the work ethic of this kid. He was, first round, 29th overall in 2016. Came out of Washington. He's apparently, he's cool with LeBron, and he's now starting over Tony Parker and over Patty Mills. That is, starting over Patty Mills isn't really a shocker to most people. This Patty Mills is a specialist. He's a 3-point specialist. He can handle the ball well, but he creates for himself more than others. But he's starting over sure Hall of Famer Tony Parker. And that's actually huge because that's a change in their lineups. Tony Parker, coming back from a torn quad, I believe, happened in the postseason last year. So before that, the starting lineups were, Aldridge, Gasol, Green, Anderson, and Tony Parker / Patty Mills. Or, if they want to rest Aldridge, it would be Anderson, Bertans, Gasol, Green, and then Mills, Parker. But now, Patty Mills doesn't start anymore. He comes off the bench. Tony Parker doesn't start anymore. He comes off the bench. It's now Aldridge, Murray, Gasol, Green, Anderson, or Anderson, Bertans, Gasol, Green, Murray. And this combo, both these starting lineups, sometimes they change it. Sometimes they rest Gasol also, and they'll start Joffrey Laverne, or they'll start Small, or like that. And then, I think it's very rare. I think maybe like for 2 or 3 games, Danny Green hasn't started, but he's become, a consistent starter for them. And also Kyle Anderson. But that starting lineup has meshed well and has worked well just because they all, in the first one, Aldridge, Murray, Gasol, Green, Anderson, they know the way they're going to score is either to have set pick plays to get Gasol open at the key or beyond the arc and have him shoot, big man threes, or to work the ball down low to LaMarcus Aldridge and have Aldridge go to work. And speaking of LaMarcus Aldridge is now having a career season. And this is because at the end of last season, he told Coach Greg Popovich that he wanted to be traded. He wanted out of San Antonio. And Pops said this. He said, look, LaMarcus, yes, we understand you're frustrated here. But, we got you still for 2 more years, and we want the players we're going to get, we can't trade for with you. So you're going to be stuck here, and you got to tell me what I'm doing wrong, where I'm going wrong in coaching you, and how we can get you back to your peak performance. And it was very simple. And Coach Popovich has admitted to this multiple times, and he feels extremely sorry for it. He overcoached LaMarcus. LaMarcus came over as a veteran, as an all-star from Portland. And Popovich overcoached him. He wanted LaMarcus to play a certain way on offense. Defensively, LMA was fine with the changes because, whenever Greg Popovich tells you to play a certain way of defense, you know it's probably the best way to play defense. But, Pops overcoached LaMarcus on offense, and it hurt his game. And now, Popovich said, you know what? I'm going to stop that. I'm hands off on your offense. You are amazing on offense. Do what you have to do. And he started that, career-wise, LMA averages, 19.3 points per game, 8.3 total rebounds, 1.9 assists, 205 efficiency, 20.5 efficiency rating. Shooting, he's 48.7, 29.6, 80.5, 49.1. That's field goal, then 3, then free throw, then effective field goal. This season, he has career highs in everything. He's averaging 22.5 points per game, career high. He's averaging 8.7 rebounds per game, career high. He's averaging 1.9 assists per game, tied with his career average. His efficiency rating is 23.7. I think that's a career high also. Shooting-wise, 49 from the field, 33 from 3, 83 from the line. And his effective, he's 50.5. LaMarcus Aldridge is having a career year. And the reason behind this is because the Spurs changed their model of offense. And they changed it to fit LaMarcus and how LMA was supposed to be used and make him comfortable. And that just comes to the fact that they had to cope with Kawhi Leonard's injury and the fact that he is out indefinitely. And because of this change in their offensive scheme, LaMarcus Aldridge is now an all-star, something he hasn't been since 2015-2016. So, the Spurs made big moves in making LMA happy and maybe even working to sign him on a long-term deal. I think they did. At least they're in the motions of, R.C. Buford. I trust him that he knows what he's doing. But the Spurs really took the time out to find out what was wrong with LaMarcus Aldridge and why this big man who was drafted in the first, I think he was, I think he was the first overall pick, second overall pick, my bad, by the Chicago Bulls in 2006. Why this number 2 pick wasn't playing like a number 2 pick. Why he wasn't living up to how he was supposed to play, and why he was just falling a bit short. People were saying, LMA's, last season after the playoffs, the Spurs need to cut LMA. They need to trade LMA away, get whatever they can for him. Well, the Spurs didn't because they knew something was wrong. And kudos to the San Antonio Spurs for understanding that and making sure they found out what's wrong and they made right about it. And they have, and it's turned out to be great. Because now, they're 32-18. They're third in the West. They just came off a blowout win versus Memphis. And they're getting better game by game and getting healthier game by game. That's one of the plagues on the Spurs right now, their health. It has barely been a problem for them before, just because all their players have longevity and just haven't been hurt. But this season in particular, it's just been rough with injuries. Injuries and the fact that their star players are getting older. And they signed Pau Gasol to I think a 3 or 2 year extension. He's 38 now, I think. He's old. They gotta rest him. LMA, they gotta rest him to make sure he plays at an elite level. Manu Ginobili's 40 and he signed a 2-year deal. They gotta rest him. Tony Parker just came off an injury. You gotta rest him. Rudy Gay coming off of an injury. You gotta rest him. And it's because the young guys are stepping up. As a team, offense wise, they're struggling. They're only averaging 101 points per game. That's 27th in the league. That's bad. But a lot of that can be attested to Kawhi Leonard being out. However, opposition points per game, they're best in the league, 97.4 on average. That's best in the league. And that's just because of the system they play on defense. It works against almost all teams. The sad thing is, if Kawhi Leonard didn't get hurt in the Western Conference Finals versus the Warriors by a dangerous closeout by Zaza Pachulia, the Spurs would have won that series. Because when it happened in the third quarter, they were up by 26. And without Kawhi Leonard, they're still ranked first in the league in opposition points per game. They're doing something right. And they have a system that works. And that's because Greg Popovich is a defensive mastermind, and he's teaching these young players the correct way to play defense. He's teaching them, don't overextend yourself, play proper, play good, and just have fun out there and do it right. Offensive rating, they're 17th in the league. Defensive rating, they're 2nd in the league. They're shooting wise, they're 16th. They're like middle of the pack. Shooting percentage is 45%. 3-point, they're 12th in the league, 36.5%. So offense, I would say they're average. I wouldn't say they're dead last or they're terrible. I want to say they're average. It's just they've lost someone that puts up on average like 18 to 20 points per game. They've lost that player, and not having Kawhi Leonard hurts a lot. Not having Rudy Gay is going to learn defense from Popovich, but he brings something that Popovich doesn't have to teach him. He brings pure scoring. He brings scoring to the table, and he's hurt. It's just the Spurs are hurt, and it's terrible. And player-wise, once again, the old guys, the veterans on this relatively youngish team are leading the way. Minutes played, LMA 34 minutes played, Anderson 27, Green 26.5, Gasol 25.5. That's other than Kyle Anderson, who's I think the youngest out of those I listed. It's a bunch of old guys or experienced players. Shooting percentage, field goal percentage, Anderson averaging 506, LMA 490, Joffrey Laverne, their young center from France, 486, Rudy Gay 476. So shooting wise, they're not bad. It's just Rudy Gay's hurt. Kyle Anderson starts, but they're working on getting LMA the ball. LMA is getting taking the shots he wants, but it's only one player. From downtown, Gasol leads them with 41.4. Then Bryn Forbes, I believe he's a rookie. No, it's his second year. But Bryn Forbes, averaging flat 400. Patty Mills 388. Danny Green 382. So the guys they need shooting threes are Bryn Forbes is doing it. Patty Mills is doing it. Danny Green is doing it. And Pau Gasol is changing his play style. He's working to the system. That's something really, really good, because that's what an experienced player needs to do when they come to a new team. The total rebounds, LMA 8.7, Gasol 8.4, Anderson 6.1, Rudy Gay hurt 5.2, and then here's the shocker: DeJounte Murray 4.9. That's something you don't see. You don't see a point guard getting almost 5 rebounds a game. And you don't see a point guard built like DeJounte. DeJounte, tall guy, lanky guy. And the way he does it, he's just physical. He thrives off of physicality that he plays with. The more rebounds he gets, the more times he dunks, the more dunks he sees, the more times he's fighting for that ball. He says it helps him get better. It gives him energy. It gives him the confidence to continue playing better. And he has been playing better ever since he's gone back to being the starter. I'm pulling up his splits right now, but he's been playing great. He's been playing absolutely amazing. And let's see. I'm gonna pull up what exactly is past his game logs. He had a career game a few days ago. It was absolutely amazing. It was here we go. Against Toronto, when they won. He had 14 rebounds, 6 assists, 16 points, and only 2 personal fouls. He was a plus 13. He shot 6 of 12 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 4 of 6 from the line. He had 3 offensive rebounds, 11 defensive rebounds, no steals, however, no blocks, and only 4 turnovers. That was also a big thing that Popovich said, last year and this year when DeJounte was starting and playing. DeJounte needs to learn to hold on to the ball a bit better. He needs to learn to just stop giving the ball up and giving the ball away. Because once he learns to do that, then he'll see what's happening. Then they'll see the field better. Because they want DeJounte to turn into an elite scorer, but also an elite, precision passer. He's averaging, I believe, around 20-ish minutes per game. Those numbers are going to go up as he matures and as the season goes on. But he's had some really good games. There's been very few games where he's done extremely poorly. For example, the loss against Boston. He didn't do bad. He was in minus 23, but he didn't do bad. Scored 10 points, 2 personal fouls, 5 turnovers, which was pretty bad, 2 steals, 4 assists, and 5 rebounds. But then, their games where he played extremely well. The blowout against, Chicago, where they won by 39. He was 6 of 12 from the field. He was perfect from 3, 2 for 2, 3 for 4 from the free throw line. Only 4 assists, but he had 4 rebounds, but he had 5 assists, a block, 2 turnovers, and 17 points. So he's had 4 double-doubles. He's started 17 times. He's getting better. He's getting better. And that's the thing they need to see from him. They need to see him grow, and they need to see him see the field well. Because he's not bad. No. Yes, he's a first-round pick. He's a late first-round pick. He's got to grow. He just has to play more. With the young guys, they just have to have a better opportunity to play. So going back to the player stats on the Spurs, with points per game, it's sad that 2 of the guys on the list are hurt and haven't and Quailano hasn't played much, but still got to list them. LMA averaging 22.5, Leonard when he played 16.2, Gay 11.5, Gasol 10. But there isn't one player that's just destroying it on the score sheet for the Spurs. They got scoring from everyone. That's what separates them from other teams. They don't have a LeBron James or a Damian Lillard or a Kyrie Irving or a Kevin Durant or a Russell Westbrook or an Anthony Davis even, for a big guy or a Giannis. They don't have that one go-to scorer. No, they have a team of scorers. They have a team that plays together. No, because after Gasol with 10.7, you get Patty Mills and Manu Ginobili averaging 9, Patty 9.7. Danny Green and Tony Parker 8.6, Kyle Anderson 8.1. They don't get guys putting up 30, 40 points a game like you see LeBron getting daily. You see multiple guys averaging double digits. You see a few guys, maybe rarely will see 2 players averaging above 20 or getting a scoring above 20. That's just because of the way the Spurs work. Their offense works and thrives on moving the ball and really spreading the scoring. Because when a player scores, that player's happy. And when they're happy, they're gonna help other players score. Just like that. Effective and their effective field goal. Davis Bertans, leading the Spurs 57.3. Patty Mills, 53.4. Anderson 527. Forbes 52.2. So the Spurs are getting it from their young guys. These young guys, Bryn Forbes, Davis Bertans, Joffrey Laverne, and Brandon Paul, Derek White. I feel like I should say Kyle Anderson because he's 24, but I feel like he's been with the Spurs for so long that he feels like a veteran. And they're getting points, they're getting scoring, they're getting good minutes and good usage. That's the best thing. They're getting good usage from their young guys. Because let's use a great example of Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson before was a borderline D-League player called up just to fill a bench. That's what he was 2-ish years ago. He was that bad. But he just worked at it. People will make fun of Kyle Anderson just because he's slow on his feet. His nickname is literally Slow-Mo because he's just so slow on his feet. His body moves fast, but his feet move slow. He's a small forward, but he's 6'9", 230. He's a big guy, and big guys, they don't move that fast. He was, even though, yes, he was a Spurs first-round draft pick in 2014, he hasn't played like a first-round draft pick, even though it's really late in the year, late in the draft. But you know what? He's just giving them good. He's getting them good play time, good efficiency, and he's working it out. He's working his heart out. His player ranking, his player efficiency rating, this year it's 15.6. That's above average. So he's not at replacement level, but he's above average, and that's what matters. The Spurs need to have almost all their players above average, and when they do, then they're gelling. Then they're working towards maybe making a deep playoff push this year. Because everyone knows the Spurs are going to make the playoffs. They're probably going to win the first round. The second round is going to get tough for them. That's where they're going to show their true colors on offense and really have to clamp down on defense. But if they get to the finals, if they get to the finals without Kawhi Leonard, they're probably going to lose. If they get there with Kawhi Leonard, oh boy, then you have a dangerous Spurs team. If they're playing well right now, imagine how well they'll play if they get a healthy Kawhi Leonard who understands that system, who understands it. Just imagine how they'll play. Depth-wise, they're a young team, but they have their weaknesses. And it is going off their ages. LMA's 32, Kawhi's 26, Rudy Gay 31, Powell 37, Patty 29. Danny Green is older than him at 30. Manu's 40, Tony Parker's 35, Slow-Mo's 24, Bryn Forbes 24, DeJounte 21, Davis 25, Joffrey 26, Brandon Paul 26, Derek White 23, Costello 24, Darren Hillard 24. It's not like they're heavy on the young side and they're extremely young. Like, I think the Suns are extremely young, but they're not extremely old and, have a bunch of veterans that just, been around the league a long time and just old and slow. No, they have a good mix. Yes, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players above the age of 30. One that's 40. But, then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players under the age of 25. So it evens out. They have a good mix of young and old players, and I think that's what helps them. Point guard, you have Patty Mills, DeJounte Murray, Parker, and White. Parker and Mills. I'd say Mills is still kind of young, 29, but Parker and Mills are the veterans there, and Murray and White aren't. Murray's 21. White is a rookie. These guys are still young, and they can learn from it. Then at shooting guard, you have Forbes, Green, Ginobili, Paul, and Hillard. Well, Paul's a rookie, and his story is amazing. But then you get Green and Ginobili teaching and really molding Forbes, Paul, and Hillard. At small forward, you have Anderson and Leonard. So really, you just have Anderson, and he's becoming a veteran, even though he's only 24. Power forward, Gain Bertans. Well, Bertans is 25, but he doesn't have really anyone to look up to. Maybe LMA, but LMA, oddly enough, is listed as a center. So Bertans really is being taught by LMA, Gasol, two really old, well-experienced guys, and then you have Laverne and Costello also at center that are gonna learn from LMA and Gasol. Now the Spurs list LMA as a center. I think that's just because they want Rudy Gay to play power forward and be listed as power forward just for matchups. But really, LaMarcus Aldridge is a power forward, just like how Tim Duncan was a power forward. It was just like that, nothing crazy. But that being said, the Spurs have a good mix of young and old, which allows them to grow as the season goes on. And that's extremely important for them. Tonight they're playing the 76ers, a very young team, and they're doing well in the NBA. They're not blowing teams out of the water, but they're not getting utterly destroyed. They're 32-18. They're behind the Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors. Those are two good teams to be behind. And they're above the Timberwolves, OKC, and the Pelicans. They're doing it right. They're behind exceptionally good teams, and they're above good teams that have a chance of going deep in the playoffs. So the Spurs are sitting right where they want to be, and they're playing basketball how they need to. They just need to keep playing it that way. And if they just get healthy. And, you just can't magically become healthy, sadly. You have to, it's a process. And when the Spurs do get healthy, people will start to see how good they are and how amazing they can be. But yeah, that's all for today, folks. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Coming up in a few later episodes, we'll be talking the process, the 76ers, also more baseball as the hot stove hopefully heats up, with the Brewers making a few moves, signing Lorenzo Cain and trading for Kristen Yelich. I still stand by my saying that they will possibly get the wild card, but they will most probably win the wild card but lose in the divisional series. That's what I'm saying. They just need pitching, and they should sign Arrieta and give him the ace role. They should do that just because it would shore up their pitching, and all they'd have to do is worry about their bullpen, which they can do later on in the season. So thank you all for listening, and I will see all of you on the flip side. Peace.